Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon. Please sit down. Okay, so please tell me your name and the problem that brought you here.
My name is Jim and I'm trying to get back in shape.
Okay, Jim. The nurse is about to take some of your measures. Please tell me a bit more about your habits.
Well, I'm not a salad guy as you may notice. I have so many things to do. I don't have time to cook something healthy, so I grab something from the closest store. I drink sometimes with my friends and I smoke. I do not exercise because of the time as well.
Are you under a lot of stress? Do you get enough sleep?
Yes, I am under too much stress and no, I sleep very little. Barely enough to keep me functioning through the day.
Interesting. Before I can give you my professional opinion, please tell me your age.
I am 21, sir.
Well, the first thing I can recommend you is visit my colleague, the nutritionist. I'll tell her to come in a bit. She can help you get a brand new healthy diet that goes according to your activities and personal needs. It is necessary to correct your nutrition since it is not balanced and you are overweight.
Perfect. I'll wait for her. Tell me more.
I am worried because all of the bad habits you have may damage your heart. Your pressure is 132 over 84 millimeters of mercury and 140 over 90 millimeters of mercury is considered hypertensive. As you may know, having high blood pressure can cause a heart attack or a stroke, so it is very important for us to keep it under control.
So, what should I change? How is blood pressure related to the heart?
You need to get at least 7 hours of good sleep, avoid drinking, quit smoking, and start making exercise.
Am I needed?
Just in time. We were talking about Jim's habits. Please sit down.
Okay, so I can give you some tips. You'll need to stop with the junk and start including something from every type of food. Animal products, vegetables, fruits, and cereals. You need to drink about 2 liters of water and make exercise. You can start these changes gradually, but I'll be observing your progress. Can you please arrange an appointment with my secretary?
Of course, I'll go once the doctor is over.
Perfect. See you later.
Well, I will leave your nutrition to my colleague. Let's continue with your blood pressure. It measures the force that blood exerts on your arteries, and blood is pumped by the heart. So it is working harder than it should.
It sounds terrible. So, all my habits cause this?
Yes, smoking, drinking, not making any exercise and being overweight are important factors in this situation.
Okay, doctor, thanks for everything.
May I come in, doctor? We are seeing if you can tell a patient situation. It's for learning purposes. It's just me and my interns.
Come in, interns. The patient is under lots of stress, smokes, drinks, doesn't have a healthy diet, and doesn't exercise at all. Why do these risk factors make the patient susceptible for developing cardiovascular diseases?
Stress produces constant adrenaline, which causes an intense psychological activation affecting the needs of a person. Besides, creates an elevation in blood pressure, which later harms the sediments of the arteries, among other things like hair loss, obesity, insomnia, ulcers, etc.
Unhealthy diet helps that he accumulates cholesterol in his arteries, blocking the path of the blood, which can create a heart attack. Smoking causes coronary ischemia, which is produced by nicotine, harming the inner wall of the arteries, and carbon monoxide, which causes that less oxygen gets to the myocardium.
Drinking increases cardiac activity, produces hypertension, harms and weakens the cardiac muscle, creating difficulty to pump blood. It also generates vessel dilatation.
Doing no exercise wouldn't affect it if he had a healthy lifestyle, but with all those factors, it really affects the transportation of blood, oxygen, and some nutrients, which generates a big quantity of waste in blood and it accumulates there, which helps in the accumulation of adipose tissue because the body can't burn it, creating a blockage. Later, he could have a heart attack or a stroke.
Okay, let me explain the cardiovascular system for you. First, you should know that the basis of this system is the blood pressure, achieved by the most hard-working muscle, the heart, and many little tubes in your body known as veins and arteries. It is responsible for transporting oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and cellular waste products throughout the body. Now, the cardiovascular system is measured by the cardiac cycle, which has these phases. The first phase consists of atrial contraction, which starts with a process called atrial depolarization. This initiates contraction of the atrial musculature. After that, we have phase 2, called isovolumetric contraction. This begins with the appearance of a combination made up by 3 different deflections called QRS complex. This triggers excitation-contraction coupling. What follows is phase 3, called rapid ejection. As the name suggests, it represents the rapid ejection of blood into the aorta and pulmonary arteries. Later we have phase 4, reduced ejection, where ventricular repolarization occurs, leading to a decline in the ventricle tension and pressure. Therefore, the ejection pressure is reduced.
The cycle continues with the isovolumetric relaxation phase, which is the fifth phase. The phase begins just after the intraventricular pressures fall sufficiently at the end of the phase 4, continuing with the abruptly close of the aortic and pulmonic valves. Before the cycle ends, we come to the sixth phase known as rapid filling. This phase consists in the intraventricular pressures filling below their respective pressures. And last but not least, the seventh phase happens when the ventricles continue filling with blood and expand, increasing the intraventricular pressure and reducing the aortic and pulmonary arterial pressures. The blood, of course, is a fundamental element of all this process. It has different components which, of course, have different functions. Let's see, who can tell me about it?
The plasma acts as a reservoir that can either replenish insufficient water or absorb excess water from tissues. It also prevents blood vessels from collapsing and clogging and helps maintain blood pressure and circulation throughout the body. Also, it regulates body temperature.
Red blood cells, also called erythrocytes, carry oxygen from the lungs and deliver it to all body tissues.
White blood cells, also called leukocytes, are responsible primarily for defending the body against infection. Platelets, also called thrombocytes, help in the clotting process.
Now, who can tell me how the respiratory system is related to Jim's situation?
The function of this system consists in taking in oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide.
And how does the cardiovascular system relate to the respiratory system?
The cardiovascular and the respiratory system both work toward the same goal, getting oxygen to tissues and getting carbon dioxide out. The respiratory system is involved in supplying oxygen to the blood and removing carbon dioxide.
Yes, when the heart receives blood that is low in oxygen and high in carbon dioxide, it pumps it to the lungs via the pulmonary arteries. When the lungs expand and gets pressure from the environment, oxygen is transformed into the low oxygen blood, which also then sends some of its carbon dioxide back into the lungs. Now that this blood has fresh oxygen in it, it turns to the heart, and the heart then pumps in throughout the body.
Thanks, bro, for interrupting me.
Sorry, bro.
Okay, and who can tell me how ventilation works?
Me, I know. Ventilation is a two-part process of moving air into and out of lungs. Inhalation consists in air going in, and exhalation consists of air going out.
It is correct. And how does it work?
Basically, it's the transfer of gas between respiratory organs such as lungs and the outer environment, which is known as the external respiration, and then we have the internal respiration, which is the transfer of gas between the blood and cells.
Now, you should know that all body parts are connected, right? So we also have the urinary system. It is made up of a wide variety of organs, which are
the two kidneys. Their function is to remove liquid waste from the blood in the form of urine, keep a stable balance of salts and other substances in the blood, and produce erythropoietin, a hormone that aids the formation of red blood cells.
We also have two ureters. They carry urine from the kidney to the bladder.
Next, we have the bladder. The bladder's walls relax and expand to store urine and contract and flatten to empty urine through the urethra.
Another organ are two splinter muscles. They help keep urine from leaking by closing tightly like a rubber band around the opening of the bladder.
And so we come to the nerves in the bladder, which alert a person when it is time to urinate or empty the bladder.
We were missing the urethra, which allows urine to pass outside the body.
Wait, we are also missing the nephron, that is the basic structural and functional unit of the kidney. Its chief function is to regulate the concentration of water and soluble substances, while sodium salts by filtering the blood that comes from the renal artery, which then divides into progressively smaller branches, to then reabsorb what is needed and exerting the rest as urine.
This leads us to the urine formation. Who can tell me how it's formed?
Everything starts with the glomerulus, when filtered water and other substances from the bloodstream. As blood flows through the glomerulus, blood pressure pushes water and solutes from the capillarities into the capsules through filtration membrane.
Then comes the filtration membrane, which keeps blood cells and large proteins in the bloodstream.
Yes, and the filtration membrane allows water and small solutes to pass, but blocks blood cells and large proteins. The filtrate, that fluid that has passed through the membrane, flows from the glomerular capsule further into the nephron.
The reabsorption moves nutrients and water back into the bloodstream.
And what happens with the resulting filtrate?
Contains waste, but also another substances the body needs, essential ions, glucose, amino acids, and smaller proteins. It flows into a duct in the nephron called the renal tubule. The needed substances and some water are reabsorbed through the tube wall into adjacent capillaries.
And what happens with the waste ions? Waste ions and hydrogen ions secreted from the blood complete the formation of urine. The filtrate flows through the renal tubule where nutrients and water are reabsorbed into capillaries. At the same time, waste ions and hydrogen ions pass from the capillaries into the renal tubule. Process called secretion.
And then is when secreted ions combine with the remaining filtrate and become urine?
Yes! Urine flows out of the nephron tubule into a collecting duct. It passes out of the kidney through the renal pelvis, into the ureter, and down to the bladder.
Remember that urine is 95% water and 5% waste products. Nitrogenous waste is excreted in urine, including urea, creatinine, ammonia, and uric acid. Ions such as sodium, potassium, hydrogen, and calcium are also excreted. This is an important fact since it helps us to determine how healthy a patient can be.
Now, Jim, to know what steps you should follow to achieve the health you are looking for, we have to know your BMI. So let's wait for the nutritionist.
I have James' lab's results.
Tell me what happened.
The lab results have indicated that your BMI is 27.78. In other words, you are gordo. But don't worry, you can improve if you follow these dietary recommendations. Drink plenty of water, don't skip breakfast, eat fruit and veggies, take a light dinner, read food labels, don't stock junk foods, plan your meals, eat regular meals, try to cook, not buy pre-made food, and sleep 8 hours.
Thanks a lot.